Howdy folks, Professor Pete here. Don't mind the sling, I fell out of a tree while tracking a lemur the other day, so suffered a minor injury. But speaking of trees, I'm here to talk to you guys today about forest communities. There's two general theories that govern forest communities. The equilibrium theory, the idea that over time, forests become stable climax communities with species composition remaining relatively constant through autogenic means, such as natural lifespans and competitive availability for resources. It also operates under the idea that humans are the prime disturbers who restart the forest succession process. So when humans come in and do things like clear cutting, we start fires, harvest trees for wood, things like that. All these things, humans are the cause of the forest succession process. Now, the non-equilibrium theory is the idea that disturbance in forest communities is common and ongoing, with many different succession periods building up an entire forest. So allogenic processes such as like natural forest fires, storms that blow trees over, beaver dams that flood areas, all cause the succession cycle to restart at different times, therefore leading to a bunch of different communities in like a bunch of different succession periods, all composing of one forest community. We're going to be looking at the Yates Mill Pond area, and the succession for that community is going to start with annual plants like flowers, going to perennial plants, eventually to shrubs, which will give yield to softwood trees such as pine, and eventually to the climax community of hardwood trees like oak, beech, elm, all that stuff. And so what we're going to be looking at today, we're going to be trying to document the community composition and species richness of two forest stands, a western stand and an eastern stand. The western stand is going to be made up of 6 10 by 10 meter plots, and it's going to be pine dominated, while the eastern stand is also going to be made up of 6 10 by 10 plots, but it's going to be hardwood dominated. We're going to want to go into each one of these plots and accurately identify each species of tree and record whether it's small or large. Now, since we're looking at species richness, we don't need to necessarily record the amount of individuals that we see, just each unique species when we go in there. We can use these species to determine like alpha, which is local richness, like how many species on average are in a given forest type. So we'll look at each of the plots in one particular stand, however many species are in each plot. We'll take the average, that's going to be our alpha diversity. Beta is looking at the difference in species composition between forest types. So we'll compare the eastern stand and the western stand and see how many unique species are in both. So the higher the value, the higher the beta value, the more diverse the stands are going to be. And gamma looks at global richness, but isn't really looking at it on a global scale. We're looking at it in the scale of all of that particular forest type. So how many species are in all the plots of a given forest type. So if we look at the western stand, it'll have, say, like 12 species of trees, and that's what we're going to be looking at here. We're going to hypothesize that our western stand made of pine is going to be younger than our eastern stand, which is comprised of the hardwood trees, and that's just because that follows that pattern of succession there. And so if our pine dominated stand, it's probably going to come from like agriculture. Someone probably came in and disturbed that climax community of hardwood trees, clear cut it, and then abandoned that field, and it's built its way back up to that softwood stand. We can look at evidence for succession if there's a lot of, say, smaller hardwood trees in that softwood pine stand. We can say that we can hypothesize that succession is probably going to be occurring sometime in the future here, just because those hardwoods are going to continue to grow and eventually outcompete the softwood pine trees. That's what I've got for you today, folks. I hope you enjoyed it.